So one of the coolest props of 2025, I think, has to be Poison Props Bushman. It's basically, it looks like a shrub, and when you set it off, it kind of plays peekaboo and moves its hands away and reveals a guy that's part of the plant that screams really loud. And I mean, it's not really themed for much, and it's kind of subtle, but I think that's what makes it so great. Nobody's gonna see it coming. But it retails for about $2,700. So I decided to make my own version, and this is how I did it. This is just the armature right now. I made a little X-shaped base and then used some 2-inch steel tubing to come up. And then for the branches, I welded on some short little pieces of rebar here. And what I'm gonna do is take some PVC pipe and slide it over the top like that. And then I'm gonna use some Durham's water putty to blend it together. And I'm not sure, but I might spread the water putty all over the entire part that's gonna be the trunk, as well as blend it in to the PVC branches. And then I'm gonna texture it with a Dremel to give it a bark texture. And then I got some of these fake branches and leaves from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to attach those coming off of the branches coming all the way up. But the coolest part is the mechanism. So to show you how I did that, basically at the top of the 2-inch pipe, I just put a piece of square steel, square tubing right across the top. And then I use square tubing for the upper arms as well. And then I used round tubing for the forearms because I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do here. I know I'm gonna top them off with some latex monster hands that are gonna go up there, but for blending it in, I wanted to have round tubing here just in case I need to slide like a little noodle or something like that over to fill it out. So this would be the shoulder joint right here. And I have 4 inches of extension coming off the back of the shoulder here. And I got this double acting air cylinder from a company called Tailonz. It's Tailonz on Amazon. They make pneumatics way cheaper than a lot of people do. So it's got a 8-inch stroke on the bar here. So when the prop is at rest, it'll be all the way extended. And then when I activate the solenoid, it'll retract and the arms will spread out like that. So for demo purposes, I'll just use these welding gloves and this cheap Party City Freddy mask. So imagine everything concealed with branches and leaves on the exterior, including the forearms and the top of the head. And then whenever you activate it, the branches and leaves spread out and reveal that. And there's also going to be a strobe light and a lot of screaming going on. I degreased all the steel and I put a nice base coat of some brown paint on everything, just to keep the rust from getting at it. And I've got my solenoid hooked up here with a quick detach air line. I've got the exhaust completely open for when the arms spread open. That way there's nothing slowing down the speed of the piston. And on the return, I've got a 1/8 threaded plug, no hole, no outlet or anything, just a plug loosely threaded in. That way the air can escape at the threads, and that way the return, when the arms close, it'll slow down. And for right now, I've just got it on a remote control like you would hook your Christmas tree lights to. I'm gonna eventually put a motion sensor on it, but there it is, 5-way solenoid. And I'll go ahead and hit the remote to show you the motion. And that's operating at about 20 to 25 PSI. This is the mask in the hands that I'm gonna use. I'm probably gonna paint them to get a little bit closer of a match, but I also need to look at the color of the leaves that I got because I want everything to be camouflaged. I want it to blend in. And I had to go back and make a little modification. There was the potential for the arms when they closed to essentially one cross all the way across the body and the other one stay out, because the air cylinder is not attached to anything except the back of the arms, which are both mobile. There's no fixed pivot point for the air piston. So I had to put these little stops on each side. That way if one arm hits the stop first, the other arm won't stay outstretched. It'll pull in on itself and come to the center. Another thing I did was I shortened down these rebar stubs on the trunk. And what I'm gonna do, I was thinking about storage. I didn't want to have the branches all the way out all the time because that's gonna take up space. So with the PVC, I used a heat gun. I put a little bend in there for the branches. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna putty and blend the PVC in to the trunk, and then above the steel stub, I'm gonna cut the PVC and use an internal wooden dowel to basically join the branches on. So the bottom part will be fixed. It'll be on the trunk, but then you'll be able to slide the branches on and off. That way in the off season, you can take it down and store it. And I've got the hands and the head filling with foam right now, and it's expanding. And when it's done, I'll just come back and I'll clean that up a little bit, trim it down or sand it, whatever looks best. And then it'll be all about getting the bark texture and the leaves attached, and he'll be ready to go.